one thing, my watch. My phone just ran out a couple weeks ago, and my computer is out, and my iPad is out, so I'm down to my watch. Um, but yeah, but a lot of times I'll be calling because it's a system issue, like a new system, and I'll say, "Well, it's your system and having problems," and then I don't know. They've never said no, we won't help you. I kind of guess it's like the emergency room. If you're collapsed on the sidewalk in front, but you don't have insurance, they're still going to help you.
Yeah, but only from the waist down.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your advice. Ron, thank you for posting that note for me about cables. No one contacted me, so I guess I'll have to use them myself.
I forget what that thing was.
It was a box of used hard drives and a whole bunch of
Oh, yeah.
USB switches and cables, the old square ones and old USB and just all sorts of stuff that um, when we're downsizing, I realize I'm probably going to have less of than more to hook together. If my
You know,
wife has her way, we will have nothing to hook together.
Lyman, I've got a huge box of all kinds of just cables and old stuff like that I save, and I'm like, I'm never going to use any of this crap. I should just throw it out.
Yeah, I have that too.
Well, if Bob was around, he would always take stuff from me. And he would fix it and do things with it, but um, I don't know. I figured somebody would take it. There's a couple of good LaCie portable drives. You
Yeah,
Even if
although
they have Wi-Fi or whatever it is
uh,
connections, you can get Firewire connections. You can get a converter, and they work fine.
although it's amazing to me how slow old drives are.
Well, maybe everyone's gotten modern. Alan, Steve, did you get anybody respond to your issue with time machine?
Yes, yes. Steve Maynard and I have been corresponding, and I got a call from Alan Thorpe later this evening. So yeah, I look forward to working with Steve and perhaps even Alan.
Is
What
it
happened is in the last few months, uh, things have just disappeared off my computer, just completely disappeared. Uh, Notes were gone totally. Um, I don't know how many folders I've lost, but I've lost a lot of them, and I have no idea why. They're just gone.
if
And
you
one of them was really important. One of them, which is why I'm calling, were pictures that I've spent oh years and years putting together, and I had them in a folder, and the folder's gone.
Do you back up to iCloud?
No, I wasn't. I don't know. Maybe I was. I have no idea.
Well, it might be worth, getting on your iCloud account and seeing what's there.
Okay,
You can,
I've never used iCloud. I've never used it.
well, if you just go to, I think it's just iCloud.com. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Hold on, I'm trying it on my browser right now. It just, yeah, it's iCloud.com. And then it just has me sign in with my Apple, user information.
Well, I can do that now.
Yeah. And if it's backing stuff up, you might, you know, fingers crossed there for you. It might, be
Yeah,
the,
let me try
uh,
this.
yeah, I've got my iCloud backups going, and then I hook up my drive once a week to my computer and back all my, stuff up there as well. So that gives me a double backup on a drive and iCloud. I'm rather paranoid about that stuff.
Oh, you should be. As I said, did a lot of dumb things, and that's probably the dumbest thing I've done. By the way, I appreciate it, whatever help.
Mrs. April has an opinion, Steve.
What?
Mrs. April has an opinion about that.
Oh, she gave up years
The
ago.
dumbest thing. Come on, let's get a laugh out of it. Teasing of Steve's little teasing of Steve's
You're
cough.
looking good, man. For an old guy, you look pretty damn good.
I was just wondering, how full is your hard drive on your computer?
Well, I think it might have been the problem. My hard drive is fine. Uh, Apple was bitching about, I had to put more of everything in my iCloud because I was running out of iCloud space. So that might have been it. Maybe they just pulled it off.
Oh, sometimes it goes to the iCloud and it deletes it from your desktop.
I
Well,
think
sure.
it deletes.
Somebody deleted it.
I think
And
if you run out of space backing up, I think it deletes the oldest stuff, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
The newest stuff.
it follows the same protocol as Time Machine.
Yeah. Steve, did you find iCloud.com there? Were you able to get into
I
that?
haven't done it yet. I'm gonna have to get out. Let's see if I can do that.
Yeah, that's really frustrating when you lose stuff like that, especially stuff you can't get back.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, this
hoping
is
you can find
years.
that.
I'm going to bet it's somewhere that you haven't really lost it. I will say on Time Machine, if you use a separate drive, of course, and it will fill up eventually. I've had trouble deleting those old backup files for one reason or another. It'll say something's locked and it won't let you throw it away or whatever. I don't know if you guys have run into anything like that. But you have to kind of keep an eye on your backup drive to make sure it doesn't get filled up.
Well,
How do
I gotta tell you,
I'm,
Frank,
I'm,
filling up
I'm,
my backup drive takes about 2 seconds usually. So I never have to worry. It just lops off old stuff, so I never have to worry about deleting it.
okay,
So it
so-
doesn't fill up and refuse you.
Well, I mean, I have a pretty large hard drive, so when I'm backing stuff up, even when I buy a new external drive, I mean, I usually fill that thing up within a few months or whatever of backups. And then it just, like I said, as you fill up, it just, when you put the new stuff on, it just lops the oldest stuff off as you do that.
Are you saying
So I never,
Time Machine does that automatically?
yeah.
Yeah.
It will get rid of the oldest saves if it doesn't have room for the new. Once it runs out of room, it gets rid of the old stuff as you add new stuff.
I
That's what
thought I went through this a while back where it actually, maybe they've changed it since then to where that actually happens. That would be good. But I thought once it filled up in my own situation, I had to delete some files to make some room. Not, is there a way that you set it up to where that happens automatically, or is that by default? Do you know?
That's the default.
I hope it's the default because my time machine has been full for years. And I just keep assuming that all the new stuff is going on it and that there will be 6 months or years of worth of new stuff. And that's what I care about because the old is either old or it has been saved elsewhere. But in addition to that, I keep 3 hard drives on my desk, one for music, one for pictures, and one for content.
Yeah.
And those are using with backup software. I've forgotten what it is.
Yeah.
Copy cloner.
Copy cloner.
Thank you. And another one. Because I
Well,
don't really know what I'm doing. So if I do a lot of shit, one of them's going to work. And it generally does because I can go several places and usually find whatever I'm looking for.
The only problem is drives tend to fail easily.
That's everything is triple.
Yeah.
There's, it's in 3 places.
Steve, would
Yeah,
you mind sharing your screen just for a minute?
I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said.
Would you mind sharing your screen for just a minute?
Of course. Let me get. I'm looking up iCloud right now, and I'm getting all kind of weird stuff. So okay, here we
It's
go.
iCloud.com. That's it.
Yeah. Just go back to Zoom.
Okay, what do you want me to do?
Go back to Zoom. And down at the bottom, you'll have a bunch of icons, and one in the middle says share.
Um,
It's a little colored rectangle with an up arrow.
It's green.
I know it says Zoom Workplace sign in, but I'm already in.
Okay. Well,
Oh, wait a second. Here's. All right, here's share. I got it. Okay. I hit share.
yeah.
Okay.
No.
It has desktop and entire screen,
Yeah, we can't see it.
documents.
You have to do desktop.
Doesn't he have to designate what to share first, Steve?
Um,
Or you can see it?
it says whiteboard, docs, notes. Up top it says screens, documents, advanced.
Oh, oh yeah. Does it just say desktop? Is one of them desktop?
Um,
It should say desktops somewhere on that screen.
there's docs, documents, screens, advanced, layouts, options.
I don't know what you're looking at.
I don't either,
Yeah. Okay.
but it's
No,
Zoom.
it's not those buttons at the top. It's a little
Okay.
pictures and it
I
says
came back to
desktop.
this. Let's go back to share again. Oh, it's just saying whiteboard, docs, which is new. Notes.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. It's not showing
Okay.
anything that's of interest.
Just exit out of that, and
Go
we'll
left,
work on it away from the meeting.
Steve.
Yeah.
Where you were looking at docs and advanced, if you scroll left of screens, click on that. It may come up with desktop 1 in the top left corner of that window.
Okay. The top left corner says Zoom, and under that it says whiteboard.
If you click on screens, what comes up?
Let's see what happens. It says search, whiteboards, templates, new, and then there's a magnifying glass and let the collaboration begin. It
Okay,
says sign in.
That's different than mine. I followed Steve's directions and I came up with desktop as he expected. So
No, I'm not coming.
I cannot be helpful. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Just exit out of that, and we'll work on it offline.
Yeah, no problem. I don't want to take up time with you guys. And
You know what?
anyway, hey, listen, I appreciate everything that you do, but I just feel so completely out of it when it comes to this.
Well,
Maybe we
I'd
should
just
do
like
a-
to say that one of the purposes of this group is to help people. So,
Yeah.
never mind taking a few minutes to try to help people out.
Well, it's 10 after. Let's get on to the meeting. We can do this later.
All right. Well, someone will help you.
I know. I've already been in touch with Steve Maynard as well as Alan.
And Glenn, I think is good idea. Check on your iCloud account because it might be stuff there. Okay, Glenn, you want to?
I have a hunch it was deleted because iCloud was telling me that if I didn't do something, they were gonna start chopping stuff off. And I guess I didn't do something, and they chopped stuff off.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay, our meeting. Let's see. John's here, isn't he? Yes.
Yep.
John's our vice president. Our president. Steve is our first VP. Glenn is our second VP. Alan's here too.
Is it?
No, he's not here.
I don't see Alan.
Alan's not here, he's our treasurer, and I'm the secretary and do our website. Let's see. We have our membership rewards program. We're continuing in this second half of the year, and in December 2025, we will have a drawing of all the people that have been attending meetings and have their membership. Let's see what else. Do we have any last questions or tips you want to ask the group? We can do quickly. Nope. Okay.
You know, I find that hard to believe that nobody's having a problem with anything.
Steve had a problem.
Uh,
Besides Steve.
I'd like to
Yeah,
mention one
yeah.
thing real quick.
Yeah.
I got myself a new Mac, and I was using an Intel-based 2017 iMac Pro, and it was pretty well, had quite a bit of information on it, a lot of programs and everything, and I was trying to decide how to institute the new machine, and I had a time machine backup, and when I was starting with the new machine, it asked me if I wanted to migrate everything over. And I thought, why not, see how it works. And I was pretty well shocked at how well it went, honestly.
Oh,
It went very well in that migration. I just let it take all the programs. I thought I was going to have to go on and download Adobe programs and Office and all the stuff that I use, Quicken, and it took it all. The only thing I will mention that kind of put a little stick in the spokes as it went, and as I found out later, was I had to reload some of the software that was set up for Intel based machines,
Sure.
and for instead that wouldn't work properly with the M series chips.
You
So
know,
I just mentioned that whole process that if you ever do get a new machine and I mean, you might just try that migration technique because it works really well.
I will say this. I feel like over the last, 10 or 20 years, that tool has gotten better and better and better. And I use it every time whenever I get a new computer. And I've never really, I can't remember having a problem with it, but I will back up what he said is, especially in recent years, now my computer's a 2021. So it's been 4 years since I got a new computer, but it works almost flawlessly these days.
They want to make you.
100% agree with what Glenn said.
Steve, what were you saying?
Oh, I was going to say, for instance, I have a computer, MacBook Pro, which is probably a year or later earlier than his, and I was curious, how many of your pieces on there did you have to redo because they were for Intel machines?
It was primarily the Adobe stuff,
Because
uh,
I got a lot of
Photoshop,
Adobe stuff.
Photoshop and Bridge. I do a lot of photography work on in Photoshop, and there's some supporting programs that I'm using, like Topaz and some other programs that it just came up that hey, you're going to have to reinstall the newer software that will work. It migrated all that Intel based. I don't understand it honestly, totally, but that's what it told me to do. And once I reinstalled everything from scratch, in certain instances like that, it worked better. So it was mostly that. I don't think I had to do that with Microsoft stuff or Quicken. So it was mostly the Adobe products.
Yeah, I have a lot of that, and I use Topaz all the time. So I guess I'm in the same boat you are.
Well,
Now, you
just
said we
that's up
installed it. I downloaded it from Topaz. I don't have it. I don't have
yeah,
a
right,
disk.
right now I'm having problems with the Topaz products working with the newer Adobe products. So I have to get contact with them because I've tried stuff that they said to do, and it just hasn't worked properly. But overall, that migration process was really nice.
Steve
But I'm
Maynard.
so glad you told me about that.
Steve Maynard, you were trying to say something a few minutes ago.
Oh, I was just making a wisecrack that Apple wants people to be glad that they bought a new computer. So they're going to make the transition go easy.
Well, I have to, for what it's worth, I agree 100% with Glenn's opinion and with Francis's opinion of Migration Assistant. I've used it several times in transitioning from an older machine to a newer. And the only thing I can think of that the only, well, if you've got, depending on how old your machine is, if you have an Intel-based computer that's running 32-bit applications, those aren't going to run. If you're running an Intel machine with 64-bit applications, and if there is no Apple Silicon update for it, it should still run those, but they would be running them under, and not emulation, I forget the term.
Rosetta?
I'm so, well, yeah, under Rosetta, yeah, so they still should work. But I believe, Francis, this is probably what you ran into. I'm guessing that you had 64-bit versions of the Adobe applications running under Intel, and that they probably wanted you to update those to the Apple Silicon version so that you get better performance.
That very well could be. I mean, I just want things to work. I don't generally try to dive in and figure out, all the ins and outs and whys, but I just want to sit down and when things go wrong, it gets pretty frustrating. So I just want things to work and I just try to follow instructions. But I was leery about the whole process because of all the different programs and the data and files that I had on that machine. But I'm working through it where I'm down to just a couple problems left.
Generally speaking, there's always a few things that I might have to re-enter a serial number for. But yeah, I think it's a great tool. It's sure. Now, I will say this. It's a pain, but there is another school of thought that it's a good idea when you get a new machine to not use that and to start from scratch and reload your software and only bring like some of your documents and things like that. Because what you're doing is by doing that, you're eliminating any errors and flaws in the system. Otherwise, you're just bringing them over with you. And now you've got that same, crap going on. So there's something to be said for that, but that's a much more tedious and arduous process.
I totally agree with what you just said. I just got lazy and I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try because it would have, I mean, I had so many different places I would have had to go and download everything and so forth and
Right.
so on. And
Yeah.
I just gave it a try. But I'm pleased with the results at this point, even with a few problems that I've got.
And by the way, let me just say that if I go buy a computer tomorrow, I'm using the migration assistant tool. I'm not doing it all from scratch because I'd be here for with as big as my drives are, I'd be here for, weeks working on that stuff. So,
Totally agree.
But all right. Anyone else have anything before we kind of move on with the program tonight?
Go.
We're good.
Okay. Ron, would you like me to get it rolling?
Yep.
All right. Okay, well, I'm going to start with my goodies here in a second. And so, as advertised, this is the my goodies are not my normal goodies tonight. As I do this time of year, it's the iOS 26 show. And so I'm going to be taking you guys through features of iOS 26. Now, this was much easier a few years ago when it was only like, iOS 14 or something, because I would do 14 features. And then Apple decided, oh, let's go from instead of iOS 18, let's make it 26. So, needless to say, it took me a lot longer to put this together because now I had to come up with 26 features. But what I've decided to do is I'm going to do half of it this month, and then I'm going to do the other half next month because there's quite a bit there. So I thought this might be a little easier rather than overwhelming you all with, hitting you upside the head with all this stuff. I will say this, and I don't think this is abnormal for new systems, but I have found both on my Mac with, what's Mac OS 26 called? What's the name? Somebody help me, the nickname. Nobody knows.
Tahoe.
Oh, that's it. Thank you. um, both on
Oh,
my Mac and on my iPhone, I am like really burning through some battery life big time since the system came out on both of them. And I don't think that's so abnormal when Apple releases a new system. And oftentimes, it's when they come out with the point one releases, etc., that we start to see some of the problems get solved in the system. But yeah, I am burning through battery lives, and there are some apps that desperately need updating from their creators. I've got one app in particular that I couldn't understand what was going wrong with it, and I looked at my activity monitor, and it was sucking up 95% of my CPU power. So, um, you know, we go through this process. It's great to get new bells and whistles, but there always is that kind of break-in period where Apple needs to run a few updates, fix some bugs, and also developers need to update their apps to better work with the new system. And so I think we're sort of in that little period. As I understand it, the point one updates should be coming out here maybe in a couple weeks, so later in October. So be on the lookout for that. So that being said, I am going to share this, pull it up with you guys.
And Glenn, while you're talking, can
Yeah.
you, how far back was this upgrade? What level of, what level of computer can it go back to?
Well, are you talking about iOS or are you talking
Yeah, the
about
iOS 26. Is it back good
Well,
on?
glad you bring that up because that's going to be my first slide for you, Dave.
Okay.
But thank you for this intro. He says it, I will produce it. So here you go. To begin, you can see here. Can you all see that chart well enough? I tried to make it as big as I could on the slide. Can you guys see that, or do you need me to kind of go over it?
that's
Can
good.
we all see that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's a
So
tiny
as
thing.
you can see, and I put the star by it there, you can run iOS 26 back to an iPhone 11, which would have been from 2019. However, I really don't recommend that because I think you're going to really struggle with this. Not to mention, depending on the size of the drive you had in your phone back then, these systems just keep getting bigger and bigger. So, but I thought this was a nice chart that Macworld did here. You can see takes you all the way back, to the original system and all the way through every system here. You can see what they ran on. So I thought, well, this is kind of a cool chart that I would share. So, my suggestion, as much as you want iOS 26, if you're still running like an iPhone 11 or that second generation SE, you might be better off just sticking with iOS 18 at this point. But feel free to try it, but you might find it bogging down on you. And of course, for some of the cool AI Apple Intelligence stuff, you've got to be on a 15 Pro or Pro Max or later. If you're on something earlier, some of these features will not run on those phones. So, all right. Any questions about that before I move on?
Okay. Yeah, real quick. If you go to 26 and you don't like it, can you go backwards?
No, but you could wipe the phone and start over. So my guess is, since they have two different systems out, and maybe somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my guess would be that if you tried to go to 26, you didn't like it, you could go back and wipe your phone and just start as new and start that process. And when it came up, I don't know. Anybody else know? I would presume, since there's two new systems out, that you would be able to choose, just like when you went to update to iOS 26, you had to choose, did you want to update iOS 18 or did you want to move to iOS 26? And by the way, I always hate when they do that because I find it to be a little confusing because you've got two different updates. You have to stop and look at that closely to make sure you're doing the right one. All right, so my first thing I'm going to share with you guys tonight is spatial scenes. So if you've got an iPhone 12 or newer, iOS 26 has a feature called spatial scenes. And so the idea of this is it's going to make your photos look sort of lifelike, and they can kind of move and they gain depth and motion. And so they do this, Apple's talked about, they have this parallax effect that they use. And what they do is they make your subject appear closer in the foreground while the background will kind of tilt and shift when you move your phone. So here's how to do this with your photos. So open, photos on your iPhone running iOS 26 and open an image, and make sure it's a clear subject and that there's like room around the main subject of your photo. If it's a real close up, it's not really going to work, because they're also going to kind of zoom in, and you will see at the top right of your photo, there's a little hexagonal icon there, or up on the right, top right, and you want to click that. Where's my cursor? And by the way, to get rid of the effect, you'll just tap on it, and then it'll be gone. So I didn't do a video of this image, but I'm just showing you how to do it. You can try that, with any image you want, and now it'll give it an interesting kind of 3D effect, if you will. Now, you can also do spatial scenes on your lock screen. And here's how you do this. So while your screen is locked, so just pick it up, don't open your phone yet, don't unlock it, long press on your lock screen, and it'll look like this where it enters the customization area. And you can either hit customize if you just want to change what your lock screen looks like, to do it there, or you can hit the plus to add a new wallpaper. So if I hit the plus, it'll then give me this screen. I'm just showing you parts of one big long screen here, but it'll suggest compatible photos from your library. So either scroll down and select spatial scenes. And if you scroll down, you'll see that little section. That's stuff you can use. Or if you want to use a different photo in your library, you just click the photos icon there. And then if you choose photo, you'll be taken to a preview effects screen once you choose a photo. And then you have to click on the hexagon again to get the effect. And you see I've got the icon box and the red box there. And then you just click done. And now it'll give you that parallax effect. And I'm going to show you a little video of this so you guys can see it in action.
iOS 26 introduces an all-new visual upgrade, spatial wallpapers. And in this video, I'll show you exactly how to set them up on your iPhone. These dynamic wallpapers create a stunning 3D-like effect that responds to motion and depth, bringing your lock screen to life like never before. But before we start with the video, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe to App Tutor because it would really help me out. Now here's the important part. This little trick will work on any iPhone model as long as you're running the newest iOS 26 update, except for the iPhone 11 and 11 Pro models. If you have an iPhone 12 or newer, you're good to go. I'm currently on my home screen, but let's open our lock screen editor in order to set our wallpaper. And then we're going to add that 3D spatial effect to it. So I'm going to swipe from the top of the screen towards the bottom until I open the notification center. And now I'll long press anywhere on my screen until this section appears. We need this Customize button located at the bottom. So this is what I'll click on. This option will open the lock screen editor for us. And what I'll do now is to first add another photo as my wallpaper, because I don't like this one. A tip which I have for you is to use photos of people, or you can use your pet photos for the best possible effect. The spatial effect is going to look great on those. So I've set my wallpaper, and what I'll now do is to click on this little icon right here that's located next to the 3 dots. And the iPhone will now analyze my photo for a couple of seconds, and then this 3D spatial effect will be enabled for my wallpaper. You're going to notice it when you start tilting your iPhone from the left to the right, from the top to the bottom, and so on. So, I wish you have fun with this effect, and consider checking out the iOS 26 playlist from the description of this video, because that playlist will show you other new features which Apple has.
All right. By the way, I try to let them do the subscribe to my video because I always like to give credit to these. You can see the link and who it's by down there. I try to give credit on all of the videos I share. So anyway, that's how you can do that. I like it on my screen. You know, might it take up a little extra battery? Perhaps. I haven't really heard one way or the other, but I think it's cool. If I wasn't using my phone as a camera, I would show you what I have on there now, but I can't do that. So
iOS 20.
all right. For our next section, I'm going to talk about some phone stuff. It's amazing that we actually still use this as a phone, isn't it? It seems like that's the least talked about stuff that we ever use is the phone itself. It's like everything else seems to be more important. All right. So number 3, this is a huge, huge thing. Call screening. I love this. I don't know if you guys have used this yet. But I think it's great. So iOS 26 is going to allow your phone to handle unknown callers for you. So you don't have to pick up. So when an unknown number comes in that isn't in your contacts list or that you haven't used before on your phone, that's when this is going to kick in. Okay. And so what'll happen is it's going to ask callers for their name and why they're calling before your phone rings on your end. So, you can see here on that first screen, it, kicked in here and it says, hi, if you record your name and reason for calling, I'll see if this person is available. And so you can see it says, hello, I'm reaching out from the loan processing team. Your application is still showing blah, 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 blah. Well, more than likely you're going to know, yeah, that's not something I want to take. So then you can decide if you want to answer the call or not. So what's actually happening is that when that number comes in, the iPhone is silently answering it in the background. And by the way, if I'm away from my phone, it's not like my phone's going to ring or anything like that. It just handles it. And later I'll see there was a missed call from some number. And if I'm happen to be on my phone at that moment, I'll see it'll show on there that there's a call coming in and it'll tell me, that it's screening that. Excuse me. So anyway, like I said, it asks for their name and the reason they're calling, and then it transcribes the information and it'll alert you. So basically, hey, do you want to answer this or not? And at this point, you can choose to answer it just simply by swiping to answer it. And also you can, if you get past that, you can get the little green accept button. You can also, you notice there's a says type to reply. You can send a text response if you want, maybe asking for more information or something like that at this point.
Glenn?
Yeah.
Does this automatically happen and you have to set it up for that or not?
Well, let me show you. I was just going to get to this. All right, Ron. You can choose how you want to handle these unknown incoming calls. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into settings, and then if you scroll all the way down in your settings, you go to apps, and under apps, go to phone, and then scroll down to the screen unknown callers section. And here you can choose these options, and that's what this screen looks like. You have 3 options, and the first one is never. And so it says calls from unsaved numbers will ring and missed calls will be displayed on the recents list. So that's just like it always has been in the past. Then you can ask reason for calling. And so this is where, it's really doing the screening. It says calls from unsaved numbers will be asked for more information before iPhone rings. Calling and data rates may apply. Or you can choose silence. Calls from unsaved numbers will be silenced, sent to voicemail, and displayed on the recents list. So there is where you can choose what you want. It's also, they've got other options here for call filtering as well. So go into your settings to apps to phone and then screen unknown callers and decide which option that you would like to set. Okay. And then I keep the ask reason for calling one set because that's the more interactive one. I'm curious what people who get this, what they think of it on the other line,
Yeah,
on their,
right.
so
Why would you ever use silence?
you maybe just don't want to be bothered by it. Alan, you're muted.
I say if somebody's ringing the phone and you don't want to talk to them, you just don't answer it. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, but some people just say, I'm working. I don't want to be bothered. Just send it to voicemail and I'll deal with it later.
But then your phone doesn't ring.
Well, only if it's an unknown number. If it's somebody in your contacts, it will ring.
Yeah.
Hello.
Alan said,
I actually have a silent ringtone that I have as the primary ringtone. And then when I add people in the contacts, I assign a ringtone.
Yeah, you can
So
do
this
that.
is a good feature from iOS 26. I like what I'm hearing.
The key to this is, again, remember, this only takes effect if it's a number that is unknown by your phone, or it's a number that is not in your contacts and it's never been used from this phone to call or receive. Then that's how it knows to handle this. If this is a number in your contacts, then it's going to ring like normal for you, because it's going to assume, you don't want that call to be screened. Here's a quick little video that will show you this in action.
Glenn, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
Before you do that, currently in 18, I guess you all know that you can set it up to where if it's number that's not in your contacts, it will go to your voicemail. And so
Right.
you don't lose the call. I mean, will they keep that feature?
Yeah, if you just hit silence on these, it'll send it along to if they leave a voicemail, it'll just go to your voicemail and it'll show in missed calls.
Okay.
Yeah, the silence option on that is basically what you had in iOS 18.
Okay.
All right, so here's a little video shows you in action.
Hi, if you record your name and reason for calling, I'll see if this person is available.
Hi, this is Anna. I'm calling for Sandy. I need some urgent information regarding your bank account.
Thanks, Anna. Please stay on the line. They said, send more information. You can leave a message after the tone.
I'm calling to scam you out of your money.
So that you can see they're doing that little demonstration how it works. Have any of you used this for real?
no, I didn't know it existed.
Okay. Yeah, I've used this.
I have no idea if it works or not.
Yeah, I've used it a number of times, and it's come in like that. I mean, normally it's just some stupid, spam stuff. So I haven't actually gone, oh yeah, I want to talk to you and followed through on talking to him yet. But I think it's, fantastic. All right, let's go on to 4. Another cool phone feature is Hold Assist. I love this one as well, although I'm not sure if I fully trust what's going to happen yet. I've tried it once. So as I have written here, there's nothing worse than sitting on hold for endless minutes, wasting your day, and knowing those are minutes of your life you're never going to get back, and having to sit and listen to horrible music or these. It drives me crazy when they have endless looping messages that come on every 20 seconds or whatever. So iOS 26 introduces Hold Assist, and basically what it's going to do is it's going to listen for you when you're placed on hold and then alert you when a live person comes back online.
Wow.
How does Hold Assist work? Well, the iPhone will magically sense you've been put on hold. I don't know how it magically senses this, but as I put here, I think it's a mix of alchemy, white magic, and divination somehow. And they've figured out how to make this work. So what'll happen? It'll sense you're on hold. It'll ask if you'd like to use Hold Assist, and then when you say yes and activate Hold Assist, you can leave the screen and use your phone as normal, or you can just set the phone down and do whatever it is you want to do. And then when a real person picks up, it'll notify you right away so that you can answer, and talk to the person. So a couple things. It works on all phones that support iOS 26. So I'm presuming that's from 11 on. And what I do understand is depending on your phone, it might look a little differently, because if you've got a dynamic island on your phone, it'll show the activity on the dynamic island, what's going on. But evidently, older phones will show a little dot at the very top of your screen. And by the way, if using Hold Assist, you can exit that at any time. If you're like, oh my God, I'm getting paranoid here, and you want to leave it, you can. So to show you this, you get placed on hold, and then after a few seconds, you're going to see this little screen pop up here, and it'll ask you if you want to hold the call. And so all you have to do is, click on that little hold button there. And like I said, you'll either see a green bubble at the top or something in your dynamic island that'll indicate the call's still active. So that way you'll know it hasn't, the call hasn't gone dead on you. And then you just wait for the alert. When the system detects, you'll get a notification to rejoin, and you just tap that and you're back on the call. And, at any time, like I said, you can, get out of Hold Assist once you've enabled it to go back. And so I've used it once, but then I'm always paranoid. What happens? I don't know the actual lag time between when it senses somebody gets on is talking to you and the time it alerts you and the time you get to them. So then I always worry, well, what happens if that's 5 or 6 seconds and then the person thinks you're gone and hangs up? So I don't know. I haven't really researched to see what that lag time is and to know how that's working for people. Like I said, I tried it once and it worked okay. All right. Number 5, one press voicemail spam reporting. So I know we all love spam. Apple is trying to make it easier to report this. Now, I don't know what that really does, because I don't think it's going to mean you're going to have any less spam that you're going to get, but it's easier to market. So when you get a voicemail and you go to look and see what the voicemail is, you're going to see there's that button with the red letters, report spam. If you send that, or you tap on that option, it'll send a voicemail to Apple, and then you can either report the message as spam and keep it, or you can report it and delete it. I really don't know what Apple does with this. I'm presuming they're keeping some database of the billions of spam numbers coming in. But there it is. It's just easier to do. I don't know that it's going to change your life at all or help us with the spam issue, but it's there. Okay, number 6, callback reminder for a missed call. I thought this was kind of cool. I like this. Sometimes you're just not able to take a call because you're in the middle of something or whatever it is. And you might be worried, I'm going to forget later on to call this person back. And so now you can get reminders to call someone back for a call that you weren't able to take, that you missed. So to do this, go to your phone app and then select missed at the top. You see on the top there, it says either all or missed. Select missed, and you can see what missed call that you had there. And when you find the call you want, swipe left on it. And you can see when I swipe left, I can click on the little blue timer icon down there. And then once you click on that, you're going to get some options of when you want a reminder to call this person back. So select the one you want. If you select the later option, it's going to take you into a screen to the reminders app to set a reminder to call. So I think this is just a handy feature. Maybe you're busy working on stuff, and you know how it is. Sometimes you're like, oh my God, I forgot I needed to call that person back. So it's a nice way to just set a reminder for missed calls to get back to somebody. All right. Any questions on that phone stuff before I move on to a different topic?
That's good.
Nope. Okay. All right. Well, then let's move on to some Apple Music stuff. I know we all use the phone stuff. I don't know how many of you are Apple Music users. I'm a huge Apple Music user. I use it continuously almost. And so the first thing I like is very, very simple, but man, it is about time. You can swipe to change music tracks. Now, let me say this, that is not in effect yet. It'll be with 26.1. Okay. And so now if you're listening to a piece of music, there are 3 places you can just swipe left or right to go to the next song. They haven't had this before, and it's like really a simple thing. And I don't know why Apple never included it before. So you can swipe left or right on the album, picture. You can swipe left or right on the track name below that. And then if you're in the Apple Music app and you're in your home, but you're not actually on the track screen, you can see there, you can also swipe left or right. So like I said, that hasn't come into effect yet, but it will with 26.1. And I think that's going to be great just to be able to real quick swipe and change your song.
Glenn, it works on my Apple CarPlay right now.
It's working. Does it work on your phone?
No, on the CarPlay, on the car.
Okay. Yeah.
I can just swipe and go to the next song or.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it'll, like I said, they're promising with 26.1 that this will work. Okay. The other interesting thing that Apple Music is again late to the party on in this, because you can do it in other music apps, is making playlist folders. So as I write here, it's been interesting and frustrating that the music app has had different functionality on the Mac than on the iPhone or the iPad. And it's partly because the Mac app grew out of the old iTunes app, whereas the iOS app didn't. It was created fresh. So, and one big example of the differences is the playlist folder creation. You've always been able to organize your playlists into folders on the Mac. However, you couldn't create or edit these in iOS or iPad OS. And so now with iOS 26, you can create and move folders on your iPhone or your iPad. So what exactly are playlist folders? Well, basically, you're creating a folder that allows you to group multiple of your playlists together just for easier management, because they have some similarity, and for whatever reason in your brain, you like how that allows you to organize your music better. So, you can do it by theme, genre, whatever it is that, makes you happy and makes your life easier. So, all this affects will be your playlist. It won't affect the songs in your actual library though. Okay. So know that. So I just tried to come up with an example off the top of my head I thought I'd use. So I said, okay, I'm going to create a folder of classic rock bands that originated in California. So I might call the folder California Rock. And then I could go through my library and my playlists, and I could put bands, those playlists, into this folder. So that's kind of what I'm doing here for you. So first thing is, how do you create a playlist folder? Well, on your screen, you go to your playlist screen in Music, and you can see up top there, I'm going to create a new folder here. Okay, so go into your Music and select Library at the bottom of the screen, and you'll now be in the playlist section. You're going to see a little plus up there. And now a drop-down menu appears, and that's where you'll see either create new playlist or create new folder. Okay, so you want to create the new folder. Does that make sense so far to everybody? Yes? No? You guys with me?
I've
Okay.
seen it.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, the next thing you got to do is name your folder. So a little thing will pop up, enter your name there. Now that you've created your folder, you're going to start populating it. So what you do is go, so what I did is I start to go find who are classic rock bands that originated in California. So I'm going down, I'm looking at playlists, and I long press on a playlist that I want, and you'll get a contextual menu that'll drop down, and you'll see you hit move to folder, and then you get that little button comes up and you click move. And so then it's going to put it into my folder, that playlist folder that I created. And so you keep doing this until you've populated the folder with all the playlists you want. So you can see here as an example, I went through and I just started grabbing, classic rock bands that were California bands, and I started moving them to this California rock folder. So now when I go to that folder in my music, I know that all of those classic rock bands from California will be in this folder. You can even create subfolders within a folder if you want. Like maybe I decide I want to divide my California rock folder into two groups, maybe group bands from San Francisco and another one bands from LA. And by the way, you can also move these playlists back out of folders. And I know I can do it on my Mac, but I kept trying on my iPhone and I wasn't able to get them to move, but supposedly you can do it. So what I ended up doing, since I couldn't move them on my iPhone, I went back to my Mac and dragged them out of there without a problem. So either there was a little bug that Apple has to fix, or I just couldn't figure out how to move them back out of there once I created them. By the way, you can delete a folder anytime you want. Just go up by clicking on the three buttons at the top, and that deletes your folder. All right. The next feature in Apple Music is pinned music. So you can now pin albums, playlists, or artists for quick access at the top of your library screen. And you can pin up to 6 of these at any one time. So, excuse me, when you go into music, if you're used to the music app, you'll see it like it says library there and then playlists, artists, blah, 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 blah. And so you can click on, again, it can be an album, it can be a playlist, it can be an artist, anything you want. And so you just long press on top of that. So you can see there, I've got this Tommy Emmanuel album. I long pressed on it and a contextual menu came up and I said pin album. And so put it to the top. So what I did here as an example, I just picked some different things. I've got some albums, I picked some artists, I picked, playlists, and you can see what it now looks like at the top of your library. You can have quick access to, maybe there's 6 favorites that you listen to a lot and you want those there. But it only gives you up to 6 options, which when you were talking about your music, admittedly is very little. So if you want to move something, maybe you want to change it around or just whatever, just long press on it again, and you'll get another little contextual menu pop up and just click unpin. And now it'll remove it from that. All right. Number 10 already. We're up to number 10 already. Song transitions. I got to tell you, I despise this feature. I don't know why people think this feature would be good or why Apple put it in. So the first thing I do is I immediately go in and turn it off because I can't stand it. So most of these features I'm giving you, I think, are positives. This one I think is a negative. So what song transition is, it's this feature that allows like seamless playback between songs. But what I hate is it's not like one song stops and the other one immediately starts playing. It's they basically auto mix them so that they're kind of seam together. So as one is fading out, the other is beginning, and you hear one on top of the other, and you may lose a little of the end of one song and the beginning of the next song. And so they use, AI to kind of create this sort of smooth transition and crossfade from one song to the other. And I find that annoying because it's like, I want to hear the end of the song. I want to hear the beginning of the next song. So, maybe you like this. It always drove me crazy when they did this on the radio, or they'd start a song and the DJ would talk over the intro of the song. I'd always be like, shut up and let the song play. I don't want to hear you. I want to hear the song. So if you don't like this, this is on by default in music in iOS 26. So if you don't like it, you just simply go to the settings app and you scroll down to apps, and then you go to music, and then in music, go to song transitions. So you see there in that first little screenshot, I have song transitions there at the bottom. And then you just toggle the cross, toggle that off. Okay.
Yeah.
That's how you get rid of that if you find that as annoying as I do. Again, I really don't know why this would be on by default. I don't understand the appeal of it personally, but maybe you like it. All right, let's talk about some messages stuff here. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is you now have the option in messages to make backgrounds. So in any conversation that you have in messages with other, and I have to stress this, iPhone users only, you can set a custom background. And to set a custom background, go to the message that you want to, set the background for. So you're in messages, you're not going into settings to do this. And once you get into messages, at the top of the screen under the person's picture, tap on their name. So you can see there on my screen, I tap where it says Glenn there. And then it's going to take me to, hold on. Sorry, I've got a little video showing this. It's going to take you to another screen. And on the next screen, you're going to move your slider to the right on backgrounds and choose from either the Apple's different preset options, or you can choose like your own photos or things. And I'll show you how it works here. I just did a little screenshot video here. So you can see I pressed on it. I slid over to backgrounds. And I can choose, like they have some preset stuff like I chose there. You can do colors. You can do, photos if you want. I just chose a photo. And I picked that. Or you can do all these kind of weird color things that Apple has. You can choose any of those. So they have suggestions you can use. Like I said, you can go into your own photos and pick your own thing. And so when you set that background now in your message, didn't mean to start that. That's what's going to be the background. Your messages will sit on top of that background. So actually you can see here, where did I set the photo? There you go. It doesn't show you the content of my messages, but your messages will just float on top of that background. And that's what it'll look like. Now, let me give a few caveats. I love this feature. I think it's really cool, but be aware that if you set a background for a conversation, if the other person's on an iPhone and they're running iOS 26, they're going to see the same background that you've set. So they may like it or they may not like it. They might find it annoying. Like I set something for my wife that I thought was a nice picture of us, and she didn't like it at all because she says she finds it too cluttering and distracting from the messages, and it makes it harder for her to focus on the text. I like it, but I got rid of it, because she didn't want it that way. Now, if one person wants to disable the app background, they can. Like you might set it, but the other person can go in and disable it. So all you got to do for that is go to settings, to apps, to messages. And then again, you find that just like I showed you in my video, go to the backgrounds and just disable it, and it'll restore the plain. And by the way, when I say disable it, you just click on none there. Okay. And it'll just restore it back to its old self. I am hoping that Apple tweaks this and allows one person to have the background, even if the other person doesn't. Because it's like, I'd like to have it, even if somebody else doesn't. It makes it more interesting to me. Again, they have to be iPhone users and they have to be on iOS 26. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to see this.
Glenn, is there any way of telling who, if you set that thing up and somebody disables it, is there any way of knowing who did that?
Well, if you have two people, it's obvious.
I mean, if it's more than one. I mean, I assume that when you set this up, it would be no, you said you set it up per person, don't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm sorry. So
okay, let me say this. I just use this as an example, but I've done it with a group text. Like I've got a group text with my brother and two of our best friends, and the four of us often message, we have group messages. I set something that's a picture of the four of us doing something. And, I've got it on there. It hasn't disappeared. So now I don't know if.
Are they all using 26?
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't think every single one of them is using iOS 26. So they won't be seeing the background. Only those of us in iOS 26 will see it. But as far as that being turned off, I don't know that it notifies you who turns it off. So,
or if they can turn it off.
well, if they're in iOS 26, they can.
They can turn it off on your conversation.
Because the background, when the background is set, the background is for everybody. It's not just for one person.
Yeah.
So everybody has the ability, if they know how, to go in and turn that off, or they could change what you're seeing. So, let the arguments begin.
I can just see a lot of nasty stuff going on backgrounds.
Well, yeah, I guess. My wife just is like, turn that off. I hate that. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am. All right, 12, live translation and messages. So you now, while messaging people like through, the Messages app who speak different languages, you'll be able to see automatic translations. It's an Apple Intelligence feature, so you have to have an i15 Pro or Pro Max or any of the iPhone 16 or 17 models for this to work. And right now it's in 9 languages. There's a couple of the Chinese language family, Mandarin and Simplified, French, German, Italian, English, Japanese, Korean, Brazilian, Portuguese, and Spanish. That, by the way, the Spanish is from Spain, not the dialect from Mexico. And your message will appear in both languages in the Messages app on your device. And while the recipient will see everything in their preferred language, as long as they're using a device running iOS 26, iPad OS 26, or Mac OS Tahoe. So it only is both parties have to be up with this. So here's a quick little video from Apple that shows you how it works on your phone with FaceTime and your AirPods.
Want to translate a message, a call, or a conversation in person? Starting in iOS 26, iPad OS 26, and Mac OS Tahoe, you can use live translation. Here's how it works on supported iPhone models. Before you start, make sure your iPhone is running iOS 26 and that Apple Intelligence is enabled. We'll show you how to use live translation in Messages, during a phone call, on a FaceTime video call, and in person with your AirPods and the Translate app. First, let's use live translation in Messages. In a Messages conversation, tap your contact at the top of the screen. Scroll down and tap to turn on Automatically Translate. Messages might detect the language used in the conversation and suggest it for translation, or tap Choose Other Language to select one yourself. Tap to choose the language to translate from, and it downloads if it's not already installed. Now tap Back to return to your conversation. Enter your message, and the translation appears as you type. Tap Send, and your contact receives the translation as well as your original message. Messages you receive are translated to your preferred language as well. Now, let's use live translation on a phone call. During an active call in the phone app, tap More and tap Live Translation. If you're not using the speaker or headphones, the call automatically switches to the speaker. If your desired language is not already selected, tap Choose Language. Tap to choose the language to translate from, and it downloads if it's not already installed. Now tap Start Translation, and both parties are alerted that the call is being translated.
La traduction est activée pour cet appel.
As you speak, live translation provides a spoken translation of what you say to the other caller.
Hey, I'm about 20 minutes away. Je suis à environ 20 minutes.
When your friend responds, their words are translated for you. Fantastique. Bienvenue en France.
Fantastic. Welcome to France.
You can also follow along with an on-screen transcription.
Thank you.
Merci.
Next, let's use live translation in FaceTime. During a FaceTime video call, tap More. Tap Live Translation and tap Choose Language. Tap to choose the language to translate from, and it downloads if it's not already installed. Now, tap Start Translation.
Bonjour, c'est génial de te voir.
I have a surprise for you.
Vraiment? Dis-moi.
I'm coming to see you in Paris next month.
Merveilleux, la chambre d'amis sera prête pour toi.
As your friend or family member speaks, translated live captions appear on the screen. You can also use live translation to translate in-person conversations using AirPods and the Translate app. This is available with AirPods Pro 2 or later and AirPods 4 with active noise cancellation. Before you start, make sure your AirPods are updated to the latest firmware, which you can check in Settings. You also need to have the Translate app installed on your iPhone.
La prochaine visite guidée commence dans 20 minutes.
In the Translate app, tap Live and tap Set up Live Translation. Then, tap to choose the language to translate from, and it downloads if it's not already installed. Now tap Done, and tap Start Translation.
Translating French.
Live translation automatically translates conversations around you, providing an on-screen transcription and a spoken translation in your AirPods.
La prochaine visite guidée commence dans 20 minutes. The next guided tour starts in 20 minutes.
Communicate across languages wherever you are. Apple Intelligence is available in beta. Some features may not be available in all regions or languages. For feature and language availability and system requirements, see support.apple.com/get-apple-intelligence. Live translation is available in beta in iOS 26, iPadOS 26, and macOS Tahoe.
Okay, I know that none of you are going to be shocked when I make this next statement, but if you go out and find videos of people testing this on YouTube, the shocker is it doesn't quite work as seamlessly as what Apple portrays it. I know you'll all be amazed at that. One of the things that I find sort of awkward about the whole thing is if these are the languages, why didn't they just download them for you as a part of the system? Because it seems rather awkward to have to stop and go, oh, wait a minute, this person wants to talk to me in Russian, and now I got to download it. Now, I have gone in and downloaded all these languages. And by the way, I'm not talking to anybody in other languages at this point, but I figured why not download them, and that way they'll be handy if I ever need them. So I don't know how much memory that actually takes up on my phone, but doesn't really show on my phone like, oh my God, I've just used all my storage up for these languages. So, but I've watched a few videos out there that are pretty funny at the results. I'm trying to remember it. God, I'm blanking on his name. I use a lot of his videos. He's from Cult of Mac, the young guy with the spiky hair and glasses. You guys know who I'm talking about? I use his videos quite often. Anyway, he did a demonstration with somebody, and some of the things that were translating, like she was kind of laughing or thinking he was weird at the stuff he was saying because it wasn't translating accurately. So as for the accuracy of all this, as Apple says, they consider it to still be in beta. So, I'm presuming that over time, the more it's used, the more Apple Intelligence will be able to tweak that and make it better, like anything else. So,
I still think it's a good deal.
Ron, you know what? I am all for it. I think that is awesome. You know, if you can be traveling in a different country and be able to do that, you know, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I'm just pointing out it's not a perfect system. Don't expect to use it and make it like just like what you saw on Apple's promotional video here for it. It's not going to be that seamless, probably. So, Ron, maybe you should try it out with somebody sometime.
Yeah, for sure.
See how. No, I'm serious. Do it with somebody and then let us know how it works. You know, see if it actually works well. But kudos to Apple. I think it's an awesome feature. You know, I agree with you, Ron. All right, number 13 in messages is polls. So in iOS 26, you now have the ability to make polls and send them in your messages. And you might be thinking, well, what the hell do I want to use that for? But if you're in a group text, you know, and you need to make a decision like when we're going to meet, where we're meeting, what do we have for dinner, whatever it may be, you know, you can create a poll and send it to people. So here's the catch, as always. You know, well, first of all, they have to be in iOS 26 on an iPhone to get your poll. So if they're not an iPhone user in iOS 26, they can't participate. You can make up to 12 different options in your poll, which, man, if you're setting out polls to make decisions with 12 different options, I think you guys have bigger issues than, you know, what you decide. So you guys are never going to make any decisions. And so it appears literally right in your conversation thread, and everybody will be able to see it and participate. So let me show you how this works. So the first thing is open messages. And when you're in messages, there's the little, I think it's a plus button. Yeah, right next to the window where you type in. And you just hit that, and a little contextual menu comes up, and scroll down to hit polls. And then you're going to start typing in your options, people to choose from. And so the list will automatically expand as you put options in. So, you know, I just making up something with my family. You can see, obviously, it was, what are we going to do for dinner? So I made up 4 options: fly to Paris, McDonald's, sushi, or leftovers at home. And so when I sent it, this is what it looked like on the left, and they can click on one of those. And then when people start voting, you can see it shows you like their little picture, and you can see who voted for what, and that's what it looks like. That's what your results will look like. So kind of a cool little feature, you know, if you want to get everybody's opinion on something. All right. I know I've hit the halfway point. I've done 13 of the 26 features, and I said I was going to do half, but I figured, you know, I've got one other thing, this little video on visual intelligence. And I thought, rather than starting with this next time, I'm going to end with this today. So Stephen Robles did a little thing on using visual intelligence, and this will be our last feature for tonight.
Next up, there's been big updates to visual intelligence. When you take a screenshot now, you'll get more tools, not only just the screenshot markup tools, but you'll see highlight to search, and you can do a reverse Google image search anywhere. Here I can circle an object, and then you'll see the option to look it up in Google or Alex. To be honest, I'm not exactly sure what that does. But you can do a reverse Google image search for an object. Maybe you see a bag or find out where someone got an accessory. The reverse Google image search will tell you where you can find it. And you can also ask ChatGPT about the image using this bubble here. You do need Apple Intelligence on your phone for these visual intelligence features to work. Visual intelligence can also auto-detect dates from a screenshot. So something like this, where you might see an image on social media, but you can't actually tap the date because it's not plain text. I can actually crop this image to the date that I want, and you'll see I actually have the ability to add a date to my calendar because it's in the screenshot. I can easily edit or create the event right from there. You can even translate from screenshots using visual intelligence. And if you took a picture or used visual intelligence to capture some plain text, let's say it's a physical article or maybe a book page, now when I take a screenshot, visual intelligence is actually going to offer to summarize the text that it detects on screen. Again, you could do this with a photo by holding the visual intelligence button on the side, or just take a screenshot of an image.
So visual intelligence is pretty cool. I've used this for a few things. By the way, I don't know what that Alex thing is that he got up there. And what I'm referring to there is when he first did it, if you look, or Alex, yeah, Alex at the top there, you could choose between Google and Alex. I don't even know what Alex is. um, I don't know how it chooses for you, but I got Google and then I got Etsy on the other one. So I don't know how it chose those, but you could look it up either of those. So again, another really cool feature that, on the fly, you can find out more information about stuff. So again,
No.
you got to have a phone that supports these features. So again, you're looking at 15 Pro, Pro Max, 16 or 17 models to be able to do this. All right, so I am going to pause here, like I said, and because I figured that's enough to go through now, I didn't want to like hit you guys over the head with so many of these features that you can't even remember. I mean, I think going through 14 is plenty that you're probably already forgetting some of the features that I hit on there. So
Yeah.
By the way, was that a good idea for me to divide this in half and come back to the next half next month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
I thought that might work. I will, Ron, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of chop my presentation and the PDF in half. So I'll just send you like the PDF for just the
14.
half. Yeah.
Okay.
And then next month I'll do the other half.
Okay.
Alright.
We'll get gas discount app. So Steve, are you going to present that?
I'm all set.
Can I ask a question real quick
Sure.
before we move on? Glenn, looks like you're in a number of different services from Apple. I don't have music, the
Okay.
Apple Music, and I wondered what a good budget number is for all the different services that and the best, most cost efficient way to work to get the
Cost efficient, I'm not sure I can answer that question, but I can tell you what I do. I use the Apple One family plan, and it's their most expensive plan. I think I'm paying like 38 a month now for it. And the big reason that I was driven to that is because I needed more iCloud storage for my family. And unfortunately, Apple is very what's the word I want to use? Stingy when they with the amount of iCloud storage you get. I guess that's a way to make you pay more money. And so I needed enough because my wife and son, it's not like they're used so much, but I use a good amount. And so I had to go to their top storage plan. Well, it just so happens that top storage plan for iCloud is in the Apple One Premier Family plan, the top plan. I also will say this. I use almost all of those services that they offer in that plan on a daily basis. I really think the only service that nobody in my family uses is the and I don't know what's the exercise one called. Anybody remember? Fitness. Okay, that's the only one that nobody uses. But the other ones, I mean, it come in that, and somebody help me. But music, News Plus, game. What is the game one? Game
Arcade.
It's arcade. Thank you. Apple TV Plus, which by the way, Apple,
change the
you
name.
guys know, Apple is about to change that name from Apple TV Plus to just Apple TV, since I think nobody likes saying Apple TV Plus. What else is in there? There's something else.
I don't know.
Anybody else?
Storage is the big one.
Yeah, but you get all the services. And
Right.
like I said, I listen to Apple Music all the time. I love Apple News. I go to my Apple News feed first thing every morning and scroll through there. I use that quite a bit. My wife, son, and I all use, arcade. We all have different little games we like to play. I keep forgetting what all we use Apple TV, all the time. So we really use, like I said, the fitness part of it is the only one we don't use.
Hey, baby.
And what's the next level down, you know?
No, and I'd have to pull it up,
Wow.
and it probably has changed since the last time I looked at it a few years ago. So,
It sounds too
but,
much for most people here.
but again, I mean, Alan just said it. The main driver of that, I think, is storage as much as it is the services you use. And
If you have more than
um,
a couple of people, storage is needed. Yeah.
yeah, so I just go to I don't anybody know where you find the different plans? I haven't. I think if you actually tap, and I don't have my phone available because it's my camera. If you go into settings and tap on your name, and then down to storage options, I think you can get to it through that. Am I correct? Somebody help me out there and tell me if that's right.
You can go to your um, Apple ID account and it will have all
Yeah.
that information there. You
Yeah,
get you get 2 terabytes of storage, which is good.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about losing anything. We do it, and we don't use all of the things we do. We've started doing Apple News because that's a whole lot cheaper than buying a series of newspapers. And we found that Apple News walks down the middle, which is frightfully refreshing these days.
Well, and you can customize it.
Get good.
If you don't want feeds from certain things, you can, tell it not to, you can block those.
And we use Apple Music, so it to me was the most efficient way to consolidate a number of services from Apple.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'd like to pay less than the $38, and they just increased that. I think about 6 months ago or so, but we use them all. So
I just am tired of everybody in the whole world wanting a piece of the subscription business.
well, that's not going away, unfortunately.
I
I'll
know.
tell you my big one is you guys were mentioning Adobe before. I'm a huge Adobe Suite user. I do a lot of Photoshop and Illustrator stuff, and it's like, I mean, I get the educator discount, but I'm still paying, a ton of money every year for that. So yeah, I'm with you, but it's not going anywhere. So get used to it.
You pay for an Office subscription too?
I do.
No,
And
I don't.
drives me nuts. I tempted to go out and try to just buy one of the older versions, and because I don't see a whole lot of differences in
Well, you ought to
actual
try Libby.
word.
Libby's pretty good.
Well, I'm probably going to use Excel the rest of my life. I don't know that I want
I
to.
know, but it's going to stop working on you as soon as they can figure out how to do that.
That might be true. It's just that I've got a long spreadsheet of all these different subscriptions, and you add this and you add $5.99 and $6.99, and pretty soon you're subscription poor.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's the real key there. I think it's real easy to say, oh, it's only a few bucks. Sure, $5 here, $10 there. And I think we kind of forget just the long list of all those little things you do. And after a while,
Well, that $38 a month adds up. Yes.
I mean, so it's not a bad idea to actually have a list of all your, subscriptions.
well, I've been in the cutting mode, and I mean, I generally in my mind it immediately goes to that's almost $480 a year or something like that. So
Yeah.
I think about it that way, and unfortunately, so that's probably a little steep for me. I already give them $9.99, I think, that I'm forced into because of the storage that I have to have with
Right.
them. So it'd be a stretch to go to 38 at this point, but I just curious what some of you guys are doing.
There is a midpoint.
Unfortunately, Steve April isn't, I don't see him here anymore, but I would urge him to, with that 2 terabyte plan that Lyman mentioned, we have plenty of room. Like I don't even get close to using up my storage with that. And so, to me, yeah, I mean,
Good boy.
it's why, thank you, Ron.
I can't.
Just for the storage alone is worth it. But man, I wish Apple so overcharges for whether it's iCloud storage or its hard drive size, what Apple charges really is a crime almost. I mean, compared to other, services and computer companies. I mean, it's ridiculous. But anyway,
I have a
all right,
question
Steve
on,
Maynard.
I have a question on what's backed
Oh,
up to storage. Like your photos are backed up because you do it, but something like the numbers files that you have, they're not in there. So when I do a time machine backup, they're not part of that.
it won't back up. I don't use numbers, so I don't know. It won't back up those files.
Well, you could use something else, but one of the Apple apps, it's an iCloud thing, but instead of putting your document folder, they make a separate folder for the numbers and for other things like that.
Well,
Just
can't
the
you
app.
drag that folder to your documents?
I guess you could, but I don't know why they want to put it separate. Whenever you make a new document, they put it up and it's
You have
on.
a choice on that, Alan,
Yeah.
as far as I know.
Well, I was trying to recover something and I discovered that you can go into numbers because I use that, and you can just back up numbers just like you have tunes, and they have previous versions of it, and it'll go back years. So I don't know.
To
You know,
address the question very quickly of
Yeah.
options for Apple TV, Apple One, I have the next grade down from what Glenn has. Now you do drop down quite a bit in terms of the iCloud storage because my plan has only 200 gigabytes. Now, but my plan includes Apple Arcade, Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, and of course that storage I mentioned a moment ago. I'm paying $25.95 a month, which at one point was only 20. And if you add they will show you the price of each of those if you have them separately. You add up the four that I've got, it comes up to about 38 or so, but I'm getting it for basically 26. So you do get a discount if you try to bundle them. Glenn has two more services than I have, plus of course the larger amount of storage. And that's, what'd you say, Glenn, 38 or something?
Yeah, it's like 38 a month. And
Yeah.
what I hate is he mentioned they go from 200, you said it was 200
200 gigabytes
up to 2 terabytes. There's like, I wish there was a step in between because I was at a point where I couldn't, the 200 level wasn't enough for me. So I had no choice. I had to jump up to the 2 terabyte one. And so, I mean, it's 13 extra dollars, but like John says, if you would pay for all of those separately, it would, I don't know how much it would cost, but
But they don't let you pick and choose what you want. I don't use exercise either.
Yeah, no.
And I use music, but there's
It would be nice if it was a la carte.
Right.
All right. Anything else on
Okay.
that? Otherwise,
We need to move on because it's 8:30.
Yep. All right, Steve.
Oh, about dozed off. Okay. Okay, let me get my. There we go. Can you see gas apps?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've got a whole bunch of clutter in front of it. What's that all about?
We only see the gas apps. It looks fine.
That's good, because I can just barely see it. Okay, who doesn't like a bargain? If you want some nice gas station apps and credit cards to go with them, there are several out there that offer some nice discounts. And I really wish that we had had these apps when my wife and I were working and putting a lot of miles on our vehicles, because we would have saved a ton of money. But it's still pretty nice now. But this is what I'll be talking about. The first one is the Fuel Forward app, which is used in combination with the Phillips 66 credit card. Then there's the Earnify app that goes with BP and Amoco. And then there's this oddball app called Gas Buddy. Some of you, I think, already are familiar with that. And then last, there's an app for quick trip stations. The first is called Fuel Forward, and it's from ConocoPhillips. You can get the Phillips 66 credit card from within the app, which is very convenient. And by using the app and making the credit card your method of payment, you can get a 15-cent per gallon discount off the pump price and 25 cents off every first Tuesday of the month. Well, they've been doing that first Tuesday thing for several months, and every time they announce it, they make it sound like this is the last time, but then the next month they do it again. So on October 7th, a week ago, I filled up my wife's car for $2.32 a gallon, which is not bad. The app says all the discounts will end on December 31st, but that makes the third time ConocoPhillips has said that the discounts are going to come to an end, and each time they extend it for another 6 months. So take it for whatever that's worth. Within the app, a map pops up that shows gas stations and their pump prices. I centered this over the southwestern part of the county, and you see where all those Phillips 66 stations are. And once you find a station with a price that you like, you tap on the station and the app will give you directions with either Maps, Google Maps, or Waze, whatever your choice is. You can also keep a list of favorite stations in your account settings. When you pull into the station and you pull up next to a pump, that pump has a number. You enter that number into the app, and just before you start pumping, you'll see the price go down. Now, at the end of September, I was in St. Augustine, Florida. I had a rental car, and of course you have to return a rental car with a full tank, or else they charge you an arm and a leg. So I used the Fuel Forward app to check on gas prices, and I found a 76 station on the way to the airport that also had the lowest price in the Jacksonville area. They do not have Phillips 66 stations, but they do have 76s. The app gave me directions to the station, and as usual, it lowered the pump price by 15 cents, which saved me a few bucks on the trip. Next one is Earnify. This is another one worth checking out. Earnify is the app for BP and Amoco, and those stations are pretty much nationwide. You can get the BP credit card through the app and add it to the app's wallet to use it as your method of payment. The everyday discount is 10 cents per gallon, but they're running a special currently. If you get the credit card before February 1st, you get a 50-cent discount per gallon for the first 60 days. Earnify also has a map, but it has a drawback in that it doesn't show the pump prices. However, Gas Buddy can fill in the missing information. This app is not for buying gas, it's for comparing prices. The information in the app is provided by users. So sometimes a reported pump price may lag behind by a few hours, but I've found that to be rare. So Gas Buddy is a good supplemental app to the Earnify app. You find a station nearby with your 50-cent discount, well, switch over to Gas Buddy and it'll tell you what the price is at that station. And last, there's Quick Trip. QT stations are mostly in the southern United States. Around St. Louis, they're like the Walgreens of gas stations. The app requires direct payment from a bank account. Now, some people recoil in horror at the thought, but it's no different than paying a credit card statement from your checking account. In the QT app, you can enter a city, and the app will list stations in that area and their prices. Each gas pump has a QR code. The app uses your phone's camera to scan the code and activate the pump. The QT app offers an everyday discount of 10 cents per gallon, which is currently not the best deal, but it's still a good app to have on your phone because the company occasionally increases the discount to 25 cents. That's usually around holidays. So to recap, those are my shopping tips for this month. It pays to shop around, and these apps make it quick and easy to compare prices. And the discounts can add up to substantial savings in a short period of time. I've been using that Phillips 66 app for a few years, and it's probably saved me a few $100s in gas prices. And that's all I got.
Steve,
Questions?
I liked your comparison of QT to Walmart, was it?
Yeah,
Walgreens, whatever it was you said. They're all over the place.
they are everywhere. You can't throw a stick without hitting a QT station.
I would offer this if any of you are Sam's members. We get all of our gas there, and we use their credit card. It's always cheaper. There's a quick trip right within walking distance of Sam's over there in Kirkwood, and there it can be 30 cents a gallon cheaper, and they only have regular and premium, two grades. But anyway, it's always cheaper, and then they also give you 5% back on top of that with the card, and they'll give you 5% back if you use it at another gas station other than Sam's and you use their card. So it's proven to be well worth it if you're already a member there.
Same for Costco, by the way.
What does membership at Sam's and Costco cost these days?
65, I think, for Costco now.
Well, it depends on which membership you have at Costco. I've got the executive membership because I get more back for what we spend on my card and all that stuff.
How much is it?
But I'm trying to remember off the top of my head what the problem is. You always get these discounts back and they take it off my membership. So I've got to look it up. I'm doing so as I speak right now.
I think there's two levels, like 60 and 120, something like that, isn't it, for Costco?
Yeah, it's something.
60 rings a bell for me for Costco.
Okay.
I believe that's correct. The basic membership for Costco is, I believe it's 60 now.
It's
been steady for a
65
number
and
of years.
130.
Oh, 65. Okay.
And the nice thing, by the way, about my Costco card is that I use that everywhere when I purchase gas, because even if you purchase gas elsewhere, you still are getting the rewards on your card because you get cash back for gas. So, and now I don't know if that is with just the executive membership or that works for everything with I use my Costco credit card. And so,
But Glenn, the Costco app discount is only applied once a year, and they give you a lump sum like in February or something.
Yeah.
You don't get it. You don't get it a discount at the pump. You have to fork it out, and then they give it back to you.
Well, but you're still getting a reward for it.
Well,
so.
I know, but I like the way Apple Card gives it back to you the next day.
You know,
they all did that.
The apps and credit cards that I showed, they don't have a fee. There's no membership required, nothing like that. So if you think that Costco and Sam's are
they don't have a fee.
Big advantage, then well, you need to figure that membership fee in to see if it's worth your while. So it pays to shop around.
Steve, I can't get into Costco without my membership to shop there.
It's we're just the two of us now, and we still buy quite a bit at Sam's, but the gas thing by itself for two cars, over the course of the year, more than pays for the membership. I feel like especially with that 5%, no matter where you go, if you use their card. But all these, I think both those deals are probably the best if you're already members.
Yeah, Steve, if I weren't a member and shopping at those places, then yeah, of course I would, wouldn't even think about it. But obviously, since I'm a member, the funny thing is my wife and I have memberships to both Costco and Sam's, and there are different things we prefer at each one. So she usually fills up at Sam's and I usually fill up at Costco.
Crazy.
That's not double dipping, that's double paying.
Yeah, but literally though, there are certain things that we buy at Sam's and certain things we buy at Costco. And by the way, if you go to different Costco's, I don't see it as much with Sam's, but for sure with Costco, if you go to different Costco's, what they carry, the merchandise is very different depending on what part of the town you're in at that store. So it's interesting. All right, Ron, we got about
Linda,
20.
you're going to do your AirPods Pro review?
Yeah. I'll do that. I mean, that's only going to take, a few minutes, but I thought I would share with you guys. So the one purchase of new Apple equipment that I bought were the new AirPods Pro 3s. So I have been all on board with the AirPods Pros. This is my third one that I've had. I originally started with the original AirPods, and you know, Apple headphones, the old corded ones and the regular AirPods, I just had a devil of a time keeping those things in my ear for whatever reason. And so when the first AirPod Pros came out, they looked like they might be something that would stay in my ear better, and they did. And so I like those. And with each model of AirPod Pros, they have made upgrades to them that made me say, "Oh, I want to get those." Guys, did I freeze up on you?
Things, yeah.
Okay. Things stuttered a little on my screen. I want to make sure that I wasn't freezing up on you. So I'm good.
You're stuttering,
The
but you're
moment.
okay.
There goes fireworks.
Yeah, I didn't mean to do that. I just wanted a thumbs up. Well, if I start to stutter, let me know. All of a sudden, it just started to do that. Anyway, with each successive AirPod Pro, they've added features that really intrigued me. And so I have continued to buy them. I had my AirPod Pros for a couple of years, so I feel like I got my money's worth out of them. But I loved it when they introduced the noise canceling with them. I thought it was great. And and they actually did stay in my ears better than the original AirPods. So that was a bonus. But I find with each AirPod Pro model, they're getting better and better at staying in my ears. And I would say that with the new AirPod Pro 3s, they stay in my ears even better than the AirPod Pro 2s did. Like when I'd be out mowing the lawn and I'm sweating, I would find the 2s, they'd stay in there, but I'd have to occasionally kind of reseat them a little bit in my ear because they'd want to, slide around just a little. And I would find if they're not at the right angle, the noise canceling wasn't working. I've cut the lawn twice with the new AirPod Pro 3s in. I haven't had to do that at all. It's been much improved. And by the way, I have felt the noise canceling is much improved. So first thing I did, my wife has AirPod Pro 2s, but the cases are the same. And when we had our 2s, she would always want to grab mine and then tell me my AirPod Pros aren't working. And I'd be like, that's because you have mine. You're not using yours. So I thought, I'm going to get a case to put on mine. And this is the case that I bought. You guys can see that there. And so it's a little bigger than the AirPod Pros themselves. There's the charging thing. It literally just engulfs the case, is on the inside of these. It slips over it. And so when you open it, you can see the light comes on, and there's the AirPod Pros case right in the inside. So it's just kind of a little old cassette, kind of a fun little thing. And so the other thing you're going to notice, and I'm hoping you all can see this, the angle of the AirPod Pros is a little bit different than, I should have brought down my AirPod Pro 2s with me to do this, but I don't know if you guys can see the angle has changed on them a little bit. So what I've had to get used to with that configuration is when I put them in my ears, you don't put them in quite the same. So the other ones I would just kind of put straight into my ear. These, when I put them in, they kind of lay back. And I'm trying to move up here so you can see it. They kind of lay back more against the back of my ear when they go in versus straight in. And so I don't know if that angle has made a difference or not in the functionality of them. But I would say that angle that goes in I think it definitely helps them stay in my ears better. I also like the sound a little better. I think there's a little better bass response from the AirPod Pro 2s. The other cool thing is that typically they have sent the AirPod Pros, and somebody tell me, I haven't bought regular AirPods in years, so I don't know. But with the AirPod Pros, they would send you 3 sizes of tips that go on, the parts that go in your ear, the front. I got to find it there. Come on, focus. There you go. The little tip here. That tip came in 3 sizes, small, medium, and large. Well, with the AirPod Pro 3s, they come in 5 sizes. So that really allows you to kind of fine tune the size that you need for your ear. It just so happens the best size for me in doing their little seal test is just straight in the middle, the medium for me, which is what I've always used. But now you can, like I said, fine tune that sizing a little bit more. The other thing that I love about the tips on these is, and you can't see it, they're just going to look the same to you as they always do, but they've got they're a little more rubberized silicone on there, and I find that those are what helps them stay in your ear better. They've slightly changed that texture of them. So in the past, I had tried some third-party tips to help with the AirPods and AirPod Pros, and those tips help more than the traditional Apple ones. And now they have taken that idea with the tips on these, and so I think that's part of what helps them stay in better, and I think it helps them seal better in your ear, which in turn then helps you get better noise cancellation. And I can definitely tell a difference in the noise cancellation effectiveness. Like, when I'm out cutting the lawn, I found with my AirPod Pros 2, the noise cancellation would be good, but it would sort of fluctuate. And every time updates would happen, I sometimes found, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. So far, these are the best that I've ever had. I mean, I can still hear the lawnmower, but it's really muted in the background. So, and battery life is good. So far, I've been very, very happy with these. So if you're in the market, I highly recommend them.
And it's worth noting that, as Glenn has mentioned at a couple of officers' meetings, he has a gasoline-powered lawnmower, which is much louder than the electric ones. And Glenn, I think you said it's a Honda with a pretty good sized motor.
Oh yeah.
So I imagine it's probably pretty loud if you don't have those AirPods in place.
Yeah. But damn, it's a good engine, I'll tell you that.
That has to be the single most problem is staying in your ears, don't you think, over the years?
Well, like I said, I don't know what it is about the corded headphones and the AirPods. They just slide right out of my ears. I don't know if it's my ears or their design. The Pros are much better because I think, and I haven't seen the regular AirPods in a while, but the Pros sort of have a almost like a 2-stage design, where the original AirPods were just a one molded thing, and I think that makes a difference. And now that they're using this like rubberized silicone on there versus just the slick surface, I think that helps kind of grab, especially like if you're sweating and your ears get wet. I think that grabs much better on there than just that slick piece. So I'm always on the lookout for something that'll stay in, that, again, being able to block out the noise and also getting quality sound, out of those. I mean, you're never going to get as good a sound as you're going to get with big, over the ear cans, because that totally blocks your ears in. But, I'm pretty happy with them. So
good to know.
Has anybody else tried the AirPod Pro 3s? No? Okay. Well,
aren't those the ones that also give you that ability to translation ability?
Yeah. But they're not
AirPods 2 too, don't they?
The AirPods Pro 2s and 3s and the AirPods 4 all will do translation. So now I wanted to translate
the AirPods 4 with noise cancellation, because you can get them without.
Okay. Now I wanted to translate my, what my motor on my lawnmower is saying. Hey, I need more oil. So, and
okay, we have text replacements.
I don't know. I mean, we can push it. We can do this, and I can get in, but it may be a couple minutes after 9. Are we okay with that, or do we want to push that?
Let's start it.
Okay. So this, I've got a short video. Lyman, you have a question? You're muted, Lyman.
He said he left.
Okay.
I've got- Great meeting, guys. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Thank you, Lyman. Thanks.
Good night.
Anyway, I've had this video I've been wanting to share with you guys for months, and we keep putting it off because we run out of time or other things come up. It's from MacMost. He did a little thing on text replacement. And I don't know if you guys ever use text replacement, but I find it a very handy tool. So that when you're typing, if you type a certain key combination, it'll type something for you. So rather than me trying to explain that, let me pull this up and share that with you, although I've got to find it. Hold on a second. I have to start it to find it first. Hold on a second here. All right, there it is. Sorry, if you don't have it ready to go in your background, it just won't let you share it. So I'm going to share. Can everybody see this?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to play and I'm going to hit.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you some examples of how you can use text replacements on your Mac.
Can you guys hear and see
So
it?
text replacements are a feature on your Mac where you can type a series of characters and they're replaced with other characters automatically. It works in just about any place where you type text. For instance, one text replacement that's on your Mac by default is to replace the letters OMW with On My Way. You can see the replacement appear there as an autocorrect. So all you need to do to use this is press the space bar, return, or any punctuation mark to indicate that you're done with that sequence of characters, and it replaces it with what's below. So if I were to type space, you can see how it replaced OMW with On My Way and an exclamation point after it. These are completely customizable. You find them in System Settings and then go to Keyboard. There's a button there called Text Replacements. Click on that and now you'll see a list here of the initial trigger to replace and what to replace it with. For instance, here is OMW and On My Way. You can add new ones with the plus button, select and remove these with the minus if they're getting in the way, and you can edit either side of this by selecting it first and then doing a single click after it's selected. Wait about a second and you see now you can edit either one of these. So one thing you can use this for are simple little phrases like On My Way. You can create your own. For instance, if I click plus here and I use BRB, I can have it replaced with Be Right Back. I can add an exclamation point if I want, or a period, whatever I like. And then I can click Add here. And you can see how it adds this custom new one. If I then go back to an app where I'm typing like messages, I can type BRB and you can see how it shows that it will replace it there. And if I use space or return or some other piece of punctuation, it replaces it. Now you want to be very careful when picking the replacement trigger to use something you would not normally type. In fact, sometimes you want to make it completely impossible to accidentally trigger one of these by using special characters. Like you may sometimes want to do BRB because people recognize that as Be Right Back. But if you're messaging somebody that doesn't know this, then you might want to use the replacement. So what you could do here is instead of BRB, put an exclamation point before the text. Now in order to trigger this, you can't just type BRB, you have to type this entire thing. So for instance, here I could go BRB and it's fine. But if I do exclamation point BRB, then it does the replacement. And you can see how I'm never going to accidentally type that. You could choose whatever you want. You could put a dash here or a semicolon or whatever you like, something easy for you to remember to use as special characters to start a trigger. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. Now, sometimes we have things that we type that aren't exactly natural, like sometimes typing a long email address. Maybe not yours, but maybe the email address for customer service for your company, for example. you could use those as text replacements as well. So for instance, I can do CS email for customer service email, and I can replace that with customer-service@example.com, like that. So now when I add this, I could be typing in a document or in an email message like this and just type CS email, and you can see how it replaces it with that harder to type email address. You could do the same thing with a physical address. So for instance, I can do COADDR for a company address, and I can replace it with a full address. So you can see how I've typed this long thing here. It won't even fit in this field, but I can still use my pointer to move around, arrow keys to go back and forth, and then when I add it, I can see it there. I can go back in and edit it. And note, you can actually have new lines in here. One way to do it is to simply hold the Option key and press Return. Do that everywhere you want a new line, like that. So now I'll use the up arrow and I can see I've got several lines of text here. Another way to do it, that might be much easier, is to just open up a plain text edit document or type anywhere the information you want on multiple lines and then copy it. And then in the width field here, just Command V to paste it. And you can see it's all there. And now when you type, you can see how it's going to replace it with those multiple lines like that. This is also handy for URLs. Like I'll do !MM and I'll type out the full URL to my site. Maybe your website's even longer than this, and it's just much easier to type those 3 characters. But say you have a really long URL and you often find yourself typing that whole thing out or finding it and copying and pasting it. You can copy a long URL like this one to a video that I commonly refer to, and I can paste that in here. So now I've got this really long URL here. Maybe I call this that. And now whenever I need to refer to that video, I can easily remember the short replacement phrase there. And now I get the whole URL. Now you may have noticed that some of the default examples that were there represent special characters. Like for instance, the copyright symbol. And it replaces left parenthesis C, right parenthesis with the copyright symbol. So that makes it really handy to type that. You can use your own Unicode characters here as well. So for instance, I'll use plus here, and let's say I want to do star. I could do something like this if I want. And now I want a Unicode character. I'm going to use the emoji in Special Character Viewer, which I can trigger with FN and E, or the Control, Command, and Spacebar. And that brings this up. And I can search for characters. Let me search for star. And the one I want is this standard Unicode star here, like that. And I can add it. So now anytime I want to type star, I could do it pretty easily, like in this note here. Perhaps you're online and you come across something that looks like this, and you think that's really cute and you want to use it here and there. But putting it in a document, remembering where it is so you can copy and paste it, that's going to be too many steps. So instead, you just select this, copy from wherever you found it, maybe a web page, and then add it as a text replacement like this. And just paste it in here like that. And now anytime you want to use it, you can. The same thing is true of emoji. Notice when I brought up the Special Character Viewer, all the emoji were there. So you can have something like this, and let's go and search for the pizza emoji, and you can put it right there. And now you can type that instead of having to search for the emoji each time. And think creatively when you're using this. For instance, you can use this for headings for documents or notes. Like let's say you've got meeting notes and you commonly use these circle characters here, and then things like meeting attendees, and that's always the green one, and the blue one is always progress from the previous meeting and all of that. You can add each of these individually as text replacements. And then you can have things like this to replace with these headings. So then all you need to do is type this, which is easy to type, and now you've got your heading, and just create a series of those to make it easier for you to take meeting notes or class notes or whatever. You can even do a little template like this. Select all of this text, copy it, and then add meeting template and paste all of those lines in. You can see they're all in here. So now you can just start off like that, return, and then go back and fill in between. Now, I personally like to use text replacements for longer things. Like for instance, maybe you respond to a lot of email messages with text like this. Well, instead of typing it each time or finding it somewhere and copying it and pasting it, you can copy it to a text replacement. So I'm going to call this, customer response like that, replace it with that by pasting it in. And now I can type this and easily insert this text. It could be a lot longer than this as well. For instance, here might be a long legal disclaimer that you sometimes need to put into email messages when you give advice or something like that. You can go to the disclaimer document you've got and copy and paste, but you can also copy and then paste it in to a text replacement. Like I'll call this legal, like that with an exclamation point in front. I'll paste this whole thing in and add it, and then I can easily add a disclaimer into an email message. Another place where we sometimes have to type a long thing is when typing in a browser address field. But text replacements work here as well. For instance, OMW, you could see paste on my way. But that's not really what you want here. What you want maybe is something like this, where you're going to do a question mark S equals, and that's a search, and then you would type the search term. And I'll add it as a text replacement. Let's do MMS and then replace it with this. So now I can do MMS, and it gets a little tricky because I can't press return here. It hasn't changed yet. So I want to do something like press space, but now I have an extra space there. So I want to press delete to go back. One thing I could do here is edit this and leave off the equals. So now I type MMS and then equals, and you could see how it properly expands it, adds the equals there, and then I could type what I want to get the right URL. But sometimes the space is fine. Like for instance, you might do site : and then wikipedia.org to say that you only want to search Wikipedia, and maybe even include some search terms there, and then just use this as the text replacement. So I'll add this one as W history for Wikipedia history, put this here like that, add, and now I can type W history space, and you can see how it inserts that there, and then return, and it saves me a little time. And one last way people use text replacements is sometimes as spell correction. Now, of course, autocorrect will work to correct your spelling, but there still are places where we mistakenly type a word and it's a correct word, but it's not the one we mean. So here's one example. You may never want to actually use this word, but find you sometimes accidentally type it. And in this case, it'll just replace it with this. It's like adding your own autocorrect. So now if I try to type that word, it will change it. Just like I've added a custom autocorrect to the dictionary. Notice that if I don't want it to replace, sometimes it still does. Even clicking here or using escape won't get you out of the change. But after I press space, a quick Command Z will revert the word, and now I can continue typing. So one final tip, to get to text replacements, you don't always have to go through the Apple menu to System Settings and find text replacements in Keyboard. You can use Spotlight, Command Space, and then search for text replacements like that. And then you'll find under System Settings category right here, a direct link to text replacements, and it opens System Settings and takes you right there. I hope this inspires you to use text replacements more in lots of different ways. Thanks for watching.
All right. I hope you guys found that useful. I have used this for a number of things, and I hope you guys are playing with that. By the way, for those of you that have a keyboard handy, type with no spaces, just type SP and see what it gives you.
I don't have one.
What'd you get?
Or are you supposed to type it?
in a keyboard. It's just anything where you're typing something. It could be in a text message.
I
It
just
could,
got SP.
it didn't do anything.
Nope.
Because one of the default ones on SP is you'll get the little Spock hand like this.
I just did it in notes. Didn't get a thing.
Oh, see, it automatically triggers on mine, and I never set that up. It was
Yeah, right.
it was automatically in there.
Anybody else get anything?
That's where I was headed.
I tried it in text edit and got nothing.
Yeah, me
At
either.
least SP.
Again, I've never set that up, but it automatically came with mine. It always has the little, live long and prosper little Spock hand,
When you get older, you forget what you do, Glenn.
I've had that for years because every time I'm starting and I'm typing a word starts with SP, I have to be careful to keep typing, otherwise it'll change it to this.
So you changed this a long time ago. That's why you don't remember it.
No, I would not even know where to find the hand that did that. So I never changed that. So it's curious that I get it and you guys don't, but I wonder if something else I did with the keyboard sometime put it in there. But it really, as he was showing you guys, it's endless the stuff that you can do,
No, that was really useful.
Yeah.
But I don't type that much.
It's such a useful thing that I don't think a lot of people know even exists, Yeah. And I put some things where I've changed like if you do the parentheses with the C in there, it gives you the copyright symbol. I went into mine and put spaces in there around the C because I use that parentheses with the C in it for something else, and I'm always getting the stupid copyright symbol and I didn't want it. So I went in there and edited theirs because it's not very often I want to use a copyright symbol for something. So anyway, play with, use it for your own effectiveness. I think that there's, like he said in the video, if there's some bigger sections of text or something that's kind of technical to type over and over that you use, make yourself a little shortcut for that. And it'll save you a lot of hassle, frankly. Has anybody ever used this before? Okay, good.
Oh, but it looks like it could be really useful for repetitive stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad I could leave you with something cool and useful. Like I said, I've had this video sitting here for Ron, John, how long? Steve, how long?
3-4 months.
I think I've had this ready to go, I don't know how many months, and then it always just gets pushed to the side because we have other stuff, and I'm like, this is really useful. So
No, it is.
For sure.
All right.
Now, it'd be good if I actually remembered the shortcuts that I typed.
Well, that's your big problem, Ron, is it's great you set these, but now you got to remember they exist. And I think the best way to do that is just use them a lot. It's like anything else.
Well, your SP doesn't work, so.
Well, that's because I'm special, evidently. So
Yeah, that is.
You're that skeleton.
Get rid of it. Yeah.
By the way, hold on. I will. I'm going to share my screen real quick, and I'll show you guys something here. Let's see, and I'm going to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. Let me come back to Zoom. I'm going to share my screen real quick. There it is.
You find it under settings?
Can you see my messages?
Yeah.
So watch in the box down here where I'm typing. I'm just typing SP. Boom. You can see the little hand came up there.
Oh.
So and then you can see that's what it does whenever I type SP, and I never set that. So I just assumed that was part of it,
You have this special Spock edition.
I guess,
you inherited that.
My edition is out of this world, guys. That's all I can say. So anyway, so next month, guys, I will continue on with iOS 26, and hopefully by then you guys will have a lot more experience with it and have tried out some of the features I showed you tonight, and I'll do the other features next time.
So they've only come out with what, 26.0.1 so far?
Correct.
Correct.
Do you expect the next one to be 26.1?
Yes. And from what I've heard, that will probably come sometime. I
In the
doubt
next
that
2 weeks.
but I would say in a couple weeks we'll probably see that drop.
I mean, I'm just been waiting for, at least maybe one or two iterations. Do you feel comfortable with this one?
Oh yeah, it works fine.
Here's the
Except
thing.
that Glenn says that sometimes it might seem like your battery runs down a little bit.
I never I always do updates. I never wait. I never worry about it. I've never had an issue. But always with new systems, there's always going to be some little bugs in there. It's not enough to stop me from doing stuff, but I expect these little pain in the ass things, but they will get ironed out. So I mean, you can wait if you feel more comfortable, wait a month or two for systems, but I'm always eager to use the new stuff that comes with them. So to me, it's worth it.
And what about the Mac? Is that Tahoe? Is that the next one? Is it
Yeah.
is that one ready to jump into? I'm always a little more worried about that.
26 works on all the Apple products
Yeah, I jump into
if they're new.
Francis, I jump into every new update the day it comes out, and I mean, every now and then you'll hear a horror story out there, but I have never had a problem other than just the common or not so common bugs. Like I said, sometimes you get battery drain because there's things on the system that need to be ironed out and things like that, or you might need developers to update their apps.
Yeah, that seems to be something I've run into with. I've got a pretty high-end Canon Pro printer. It's a 1000, and it seems like they're always a little behind, and then I can't print.
Well, you can check on
You know,
Canon's
the
website.
headache that produces is just not worth it.
Yeah, that's why I got rid of my printer and just printed UPS, few cents a page.
I have found that most developers, most companies, they usually try to get stuff updated within the first week or so that a new system comes out because they know if they don't, they're going to be hearing from, thousands of people complaining. So they try to get ahead of that if they can. And these beta releases now are out so many months before that it really does give developers quite a long time to work. So if Canon isn't doing anything about it, I'd say tell them to get off their lazy butts and get to work.
That's easy to say. I guess the other option I've been considering is like to have a test computer, a second one to test the system out on before I jump in on the main desktop.
You could, but like I said, I would say the benefits outweigh the negatives, in my opinion. For every one negative I come across, there's probably 20 benefits. So I've never come up with something just so fatal that, and even if there is a problem, I usually can find some kind of workaround that's temporary till it, gets fixed.
Good to know. Appreciate your efforts, all your efforts.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you, Glenn and Steve.
Thank you.
And Glenn, you send me your PDF, and Steve, you send me yours.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks very much.
See you next month.
All right.
I'll call Steve, or I'll call Steve April
Okay.
tomorrow. Bye-bye.